is to load motion capture onto it. So right now I'm not in figure mode, I'm in the normal mode. There's a bunch of options here we won't mess with, we won't have to touch them, but there's a one called motion capture at the bottom. Everyone knows what motion capture is, right? Seen enough like guys in the black suit with the retroreflective balls all over their body, like Shaq for NBA 2K12 or whatever video game they have.
Tony Hawk Skater.
Yeah, Tony Hawk's Skater, exactly. What was the famous one, Gollum from Lord of the Rings? Yeah, so here's your motion capture suit, right? So basically all they're doing is they've got 24 cameras around that have infrared filters on them and big bathing infrared lights, and then these retroreflect the same stuff that's on your tennis shoes when you run, and headlights hit it and it shines real bright. There's little balls that they put this stuff on, and basically they can kind of track the human body's motion and remap it back to a skeleton like we've got here. So what we're doing is they hit play and process and filter this motion capture of somebody running or moving through a scene, and we're loading it onto a 3D character, essentially. And that's what they do in movies and everything else. So if you go to the motion capture tab here, the far left, I think should be the only option that you have, although all the other ones are grayed out. So I'm going to say load motion capture. It's going to ask me for this bit file. There's about 6 or 7 file formats. This one's proprietary to 3D Studio Max, and it's the easiest for you guys to use. I've got a ton, like huge library of motion capture. Carnegie Mellon has a huge library that they put up for free, so there's ways to convert from file format to file format. So if you see something, somebody's in your art gallery and they're supposed to be playing tennis, right? I can find tennis mocap for you, and you can put a racket in their hand, and all of a sudden you got a character that matches your scene. So I put on the course folder a couple example shared resources. You guys should be able to load onto your character and see what happens. So there's a mocap folder in there now. So most of them have some sort of description. Disco dancing. It's bedrock left, but I'm sure you would like disco dancing. Right, it's so I went ahead and hit OK a couple times. There's a bunch of checkboxes you shouldn't have to mess with, and it'll tell you that this stuff's from like 2004. It's 2014. It's obsolete, so resave it if you can. Hit OK, and then you see this filled up with all black, so that's keyframes for every like little part of that body. I'm going to rezoom to this character, hit play, and all of a sudden, our little box guys dancing. All right, or whatever you want. And so what you can do is, I can say, stop it there. That's a perfect pose for the person in my museum. Right? Convert this to an editable mesh. It's flattened, these poses, I throw them out to Rhino or wherever I'm running Lumion. Or
Photoshop an eye patch on them.
What's that?
Photoshop an eye patch.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is a rough character that's proportional, should be fairly proportional and posed for you to do whatever. You guys can manually pose them, or you can kind of run through some motion
Unwrap the
capture
shoes and
samples.
put like a pair of Nikes on them. Wow.
So you should be able to, and there's a bunch of other tools, like I can have them go from disco dancing to playing golf or something like that. You can kind of mix a bunch of motion capture clips, or you can just load different ones on there and see what else was there. This will be you guys doing pin-up review.
No.
See over here is my model. So you guys get the idea at least? I haven't seen all these clips. It's the box here, it's a But all these should have some sort of, yeah, they'll go ahead to the length of time in motion capture. And those are typically, if you divide that by 30, it's about how long it is. This is typically 30 frames a second. So that'd be like the number of seconds divided by 30. All right, so is everyone was able to get some of this to load up, at least on their skeleton, fairly easy? So you get an idea. We'll take your pose, your characters. Yeah, and I think the book app, the one already has it loaded on there. All right, so everyone's good with that? Yeah, at least shows you it's not that hard to set up and do if you wanted to try it. And I'm always available to help if you want to try it. So is anyone thinking about using a character in our final project? Some people? Human characters?
He won't be
or not?
moving though.
What's that?
He won't be moving.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. But you know, to suggest movement, this is where you're going to do impose something. You don't want a character standing there in stories that just stand still type of thing, right? There's usually some implied motion in a lot of these. Either that or like a really close up of the face and some implied thought on these storytelling kind of concept artists, math artists, images. But at least, you know, if you got a fight scene happening here, clip that clip out and mirror them, and that's the other clip from the other guy, and they're fighting each other instantly. You got two little free posed characters, and you want to search for clip art online that matches what you want. All right, so I'll go ahead and kind of end with that one and give you guys an idea. I guess you mentioned the HDR probes, right? Did you mention Clint mentioned this as far as lighting a scene with a spherical? And I've talked about it in the beginning of class, right? You guys downloaded those IVL images. So I figured I'd show you guys, you know, what you need to take those photos yourself if you wanted to. You have your own site condition. I think historically maybe what Clint was using was the chrome ball approach, like where you go to McMaster-Carr and you order a precision chrome ball bearing from their website, and somehow you hang it, you take a photo on this side and a photo on that side, and it gives you of course you're in the middle of the shot, but it gives you a spherical image that you can light the scene and uses your background reflections. So we've recently kind of invested in some things. So this is my personal tripod, but I'll donate it for this thing. So typically I'll show you, there's the chrome ball thing's kind of old, right? So now they've got really nice cameras. So this is a Canon 70D. So we got it because it's got HDR, we'll do HDR fast. There's a Sigma lens on here that's 180-degree field of view. So it's like 2-3 shots with this camera, and you get a spherical panoramic image. And then you can also set it to where it'll take multiple exposures each time, and then feed it to a program. It'll automatically stitch it and do all the HDR toning and lighting so that you can light a scene. So I think I mentioned this before. You guys could probably find HDR photographers, local ones, and pay them $50 and have them go photograph your site for a studio. I don't know if it's $50. I'm sure it's a couple $100. But if you guys did want to use, you know, kind of more realistic lighting from your site and color, you know, the kind of what everyone's run into in this class as far as the earlier assignments, doing color correction, right? So you get it all for free if you use this stuff. So, so you need a camera. I think this is probably $900 lens and about a $1,200 body, right? So that's $2,000 right there. Don't rob me on my way out. And then this is the other thing. There's simpler versions of this. So this is called a Nodal Ninja, a Ninja Nodal or something like that. But basically, the big deal with taking these photos is finding the center point of the lens, right? And so you're supposed to rotate. I don't know if you guys have tried taking panoramic photos, especially with an iPhone. It's real hard because the camera lens is up here, and you have to rotate around that lens. So this little device will, and this is pretty much the simplest. There's really complicated ones, but this will allow you to hook this up to your Hook this up to your tripod, and it's got a bunch of stops on there.
There you go.
So it's got a couple stops, like rotational stops on there. So typically what they recommend with this lens and this setup is taking 3 photographs, looking 12 degrees up, because you'll always get the tripod, at the bottom. And typically what people will do is, I'm sure you saw some of those images we downloaded where the bottom half was gray, and it was just the sky that they're using to light it. And they're assuming that you're going to put some site model or plane in there to deal with the rest of it. 0. All right, so here we've got there's a little bubble level on it. They also sell like this easy leveler thing. It's like a little device that you got 3 points that you can kind of change the level on. We'll take a class panoramic photo in case you guys want to do this as your scene for your final project. It's a lovely room. And basically there's some distance settings, but you're going to put this on here and you get the idea once you see it.
The Harlem Shake. Yeah, we're all like,
So like I said, there's similar versions. One is like it's just a ring that holds the camera right around the nodal point, and it connects, but then it doesn't hold heavier cameras very well. So this one, if you got a medium format camera, have you guys seen how big those medium format cameras are? They're like giant monster, super heavy cameras. This wouldn't work with that, but for most SLRs it'll work. So essentially you're going to get this level. The center, the nodal point of the lens is about right here. And so what you do is you kind of aim this up, 12 degrees or so, and it's got little click stops on it. So I'll take my first photo, like here, turn on HDR to take multiple bracket exposures, take the photo, rotate it, and what it's trying to do is keep that point center so that you can feed it to some stitching software, and 10 minutes later you get a spherical HDR image that you can take. So the next point would be 120 degrees that way and 120 degrees that way. And the reason why these are so important, the speed that this can take, like let's say you're doing this out of tech green, and everyone's moving all over the place, right? Between each shot, if you had to take 15 photos, people would be all over the place. This gives you a lot better chance to at least get 90% of the people, in the same spot. Maybe the hands are here versus here between shots, but then one shot is going to overlap and affect the other. So if anyone does want to do any HDR stuff, we have the equipment to do this. You can actually do it with some other, you can actually even get your own SLR camera and a decent wide angle lens. This one, you can take probably 6 or 7 with a normal wide angle lens shot and still stitch them together. But this lens is pretty much the easiest, least amount of shots required. Take that photo, real quickly. But is everyone going to get the idea of what's happening here and why you need this? And I think this guy's about $200 itself just for this little tripod mount here. I think the simpler ring ones you can get for particular lenses and particular cameras, and they're about $100. So if anyone does have an SLR and wants to get an idea of what it would take to take panoramic photos, that's pretty much it. If anyone wants to take a look at this, at least the photos it takes. I'll go ahead and try one and we'll see how it turns out.
how many HDRs did it take for you to get like a workable one that's not like too overlapping? Or does the software does a pretty good job of that? Or?
Well, it's typically the camera, right? So certain cameras can take auto bracketed exposures in from, I think the default typically is 3. It'll take the normal exposure, and then it'll take a stop or 2 down and a stop or 2 above. But then this one will let you go up to 9 if you wanted to. So it'll do 9, 7, and 5, I think. I think most HDRs that people are using online are either like 5 or 7. They're usually a little bit further. And you can't really tell until you try to start lighting your scene with it. And seeing a high quality one versus one with 3 stops versus one with 7. And a lot of times it depends on how much the difference there is in the lighting, right? So if you got a really bright sunny day and then really dark areas over here, we're gonna need more exposure to capture all that versus an overcast day, you know, with not a lot of light to dark field and muddle, you probably don't need that many. It's gonna be wasted in a sense because there's not that much range in the, and that's the thing, is dealing with that those exposure ranges from the shadow details, you know, the dark areas to the overblown light areas.
I mean more about like the rotation, like 12 degrees versus 11, or
Yeah, a lot of times that depends on the camera lens, and you know, there's a lot of websites out there where whatever lens you have and body you have,
they'll tell you.
guys have done, you know, because they're doing real estate photos, they're doing Google Street View photos. There's a lot of licensed kind of people out there, but it really just depends on what your field of view is and how much overlap you can provide from each image. Like this is 180 degrees, but I can't get 2 shots and do a stitch because it'll be like, even though it says it's 180 degrees, there's still like a, you know, gap around. And so this one, they usually say to do, you know, 3 shots at 120 degrees.